Are we ignoring warning signals from the radical right? Is this a signal of a very deadly pattern that we have seen before? Joining us now is Vicki Saporta. She is president of the National Abortion Federation, an expert on anti-abortion violence. She knew Dr. Tiller personally. Ms. Saporta, I'm very sorry for the loss of your friend, and thank you for taking time to talk with us tonight.
Thank you.
Your organization has been tracking anti-abortion violence for more than 30 years. Are you afraid that Dr. Tiller's murder is going to spark more violence?
We're always concerned about violence. You talked about the reign of terror that has existed in the past 30 years. This is the 8th murder, the 17th attempted murder. There have been 41 bombings, 175 arsons, and the list goes on and on. We work every day to try to ensure that our members are safe and that women can access safe, quality abortion care. And we work very closely with law enforcement at all levels to try to ensure the safety of providers.
Do you believe that this is more than these crimes are committed by more than assemblage of kooks? Do you believe that there is a well-coordinated network of abortion extremists who promote violence in the U.S. right now?
We know that there's an organized network of extremists. These are people who advocate the murder of providers. In the early 90s, they came to the conclusion that the only way to stop abortion in the United States was to murder providers. They put it in a manual. They recruit people to engage in these acts of violence, and then they celebrate the violence that takes place. These are terrorists, and they present a risk to providers and to communities where they operate.
I know that your organization, the National Abortion Federation, sent out a security alert to abortion providers soon after the November election. Why did you peg that security alert to the election results specifically?
In tracking abortion violence, we know that oftentimes when these extremists see themselves losing an election or don't see themselves winning in political, legislative, or judicial battles, they often resort to violence. And we were concerned that we might see an uptick in violence. We wanted our providers to be on a little bit of a heightened security alert. And we have found that threats and activity and the intensity of activity outside abortion clinics has increased. And with this terrible, heinous murder of Dr. Tiller, we reached out to the Department of Justice immediately. Eric Holder, the Attorney General, responded very quickly. He provided U.S. Marshal protection to the most vulnerable physicians who we thought might be targeted. He instructed the FBI to contact each of the clinics in their areas, to talk with them, to assess their threat levels, security risks, and to work very closely with the clinics to make sure that we don't see an uptick in violence. But it's very hard to predict where these people will strike, when, by what method. And we've seen a decrease in anti-abortion extreme violence since the murder of Dr. Slepian in 1998, due in large part to law enforcement response, the very visible captures and convictions of the 3 anti-abortion terrorists on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. But in some instances, we just got lucky. 2 years ago, there was a bomb outside a clinic in Austin, Texas. It was built with nails, designed to kill, and it was malfunctioning. And when the clinic staff found it and called the ATF, they were able to detonate it without a loss of life. Some family members have turned in sons who they knew were building bombs in their garage and planning to do harm to abortion providers, and law enforcement worked with us to prevent those crimes. But this is an ongoing problem, and we can't, in a civilized society, allow people to use violence to advance their anti-abortion agenda and to try to stop abortions from taking place in the United States. We can't allow this to happen, and all of us need to be involved in stopping the terror. None of us want to see another uptick in violence and more murders, bombings, and the like.
Of course, one of the things we're waiting for from Washington now, beyond the initial statement of outrage from the president, is a statement about whether or not there will be further agency-wide action, either at the Department of Justice or beyond, to reinvigorate these efforts that have went into effect during the Clinton administration to stop anti-abortion related violence and to take further steps to make sure that these networks are disrupted and stopped. We'll be watching for that. And Vicki Saporta, thank you.
The task force, I do want to say, has been receptive. The Attorney General has been receptive, and we have been very grateful for the response of federal law enforcement officials to this heinous crime. A lot of work needs to be done at the local level where problems still exist across the country.
Vicki Saporta is president of the National Abortion Federation. Thank you so much for joining us. I know this is a very difficult time for you.
Thank you.
President Obama.